Welcome to another Ziva Math video. In this video, we will be solving order of operation problems that include integer operations. The important things to remember in these problems is to continue to follow the steps in solving order of operation problems, but making sure that you remember to apply integer rules to the calculations. If you are just starting out with order of operations, there are links in the description below to some of our other order of operations videos that you might find helpful. Let's take a look at our examples. In this example, I have -6 plus 2 times -3, and I'm going to use PEMDAS to solve my problem, but remember, it doesn't matter whether you use PEMDAS, GEMS, or another method, your steps are still the same. We're still going to start by looking for grouping symbols, and we don't have any. Then we'll look to see if we have any exponents in the problem, and we don't have any exponents, so I'm looking for multiplication and division. And the only place that I see multiplication and division is 2 times -3. And remember, we want to remember our integer rules when doing our multiplication steps. So 2 times -3, a positive times a negative is a negative. 2 times 3 is 6. So 2 times -3 is -6. Then we're going to bring the rest of our problem down. And I am going to keep the parentheses around the -6 so that I can see that I'm adding a negative. From here, I only have one step left, so that's the step that I'm going to have to do. I have -6 plus -6, and -6 plus -6 is -12. So in this next example, if I take a look at the problem, I see that I have some parentheses. I have exponents as well. But remember, we need to start off with grouping symbols because we're going to follow the same steps. So starting off with our P for parentheses or any other grouping symbols that we have, I have to start this problem by looking inside the parentheses. And after looking at my grouping symbols, what I'm looking for in the parentheses is, do I have any exponents? And I do have exponents. I have 4 squared. So 4 squared is 4 times 4, and 4 times 4 is 16. So this is my first step. Then I'm going to carefully bring down the rest of the problem, paying close attention to operations, signs, where I have grouping symbols so that I get the rest of the problem brought down correctly. From here, I'm still working inside these parentheses. I don't have any more exponents, so now I'm looking for multiplication and division within these parentheses. And I see that I have multiplication and division with the 16 times -2. So 16 times -2 is going to be your next step. I have a positive times a positive times a negative is a negative, and 16 times 2 is 32. So 16 times -2 is going to be -32. And then I'm going to bring the rest of the problem down. Inside my parentheses, because I'm still working inside my parentheses, I don't see any more multiplication and division. I only have one step here. It's -32 plus 10. And remember, if you add integers with different signs, you subtract them and you keep the sign of the number with the larger absolute value. So 32 minus 10 is 22, and the -32 has the larger absolute value. Then I'm going to write in the rest of my problem, noticing that I'm subtracting the -22, so I'm going to want to put parentheses around -22. Now I only have one step remaining, 3 minus -22. And remember, if I'm subtracting integers, I keep the first number, I change my subtraction sign to addition, and I change the sign of the second number. So the -22 will become a +22. So my final step is 3 plus 22, and 3 plus 22 is 25. As I look through this example, I do notice that I have a slightly more complex problem. I see that I have positive and negative numbers. I have grouping symbols in the form of brackets. I also see parentheses, and I see exponents. But it is order of operations, and my steps remain the same. I have to start with my grouping symbols, so I'm going to start with what's inside the brackets. And inside the brackets, I see that I have parentheses. So I actually have to start with what's in the lowest level of grouping symbols. So I have to start with what's in the parentheses. And there I have 4 minus a negative 2. So I'm subtracting integers. So the 4 remains the same. Subtraction becomes addition, and then we switch the sign of the second number. So the negative 2 becomes a positive 2. So this is actually 4 plus 2, and 4 plus 2 is 6. Then I'll be bringing down the rest of my problem. So inside the brackets, I'll have 3 squared. And notice that I am multiplying 3 squared times the 6. So I'm going to want to keep parentheses around the 6. And I'll bring down my brackets and the rest of the problem, being very careful of signs, of operations, and the other parentheses or grouping symbols that I see. So now I'm inside these brackets, I'm inside the grouping symbols, and my next step is exponents because I have 3 squared. So 3 squared is going to be my next step. 3 squared, remember, is 3 times 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. So inside the brackets, I'll have 9 times 6, and I'll need to bring the rest of the problem down. So 27 divided by negative 3 plus 9 times 6 in the brackets. So now I'm on the multiplication and division. It's the only step within the grouping symbols that I have left is 9 times 6. And 9 times 6 is 54. And then I'll bring the rest of the problem down. And from here, I like to go back to the top of my steps for order of operations and look and see, do I have any other grouping symbols? And I don't. Do I have any exponents? I don't see any exponents. So now I'm on multiplication and division. And I have multiplication and division with the 27 divided by negative 3. 27 divided by negative 3, a positive divided by a negative is a negative, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. So I will have negative 9 plus 54 as I bring down the rest of my problem. Well, from here, I only have one step left. I have negative 9 plus 54. And negative 9 plus 54 is 45. Remember, your steps for adding integers with different signs is to subtract and keep the sign of the larger absolute value, in this case, the positive 54. So your final answer is 45. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to Ziva Math for more videos.